So from the morning session and our fabulous keynote speaker, you guys are ready to roll for the afternoon. I know that. So what you also know is that San Antonio is at the crossroads of innovation and security. And ensuring we have the talent to lead is critical for our state's future. And that's why the next conversation, leveling up Texas talent, is so important. As the only workforce discussion in this conference, we've carefully curated this panel of leaders who represent the full spectrum of workforce development, spanning higher education, industry innovation, grassroots efforts, and international collaboration. The diverse expertise from our panel is going to reflect the unique strengths of our region, but also what you've heard about all morning is the partnerships that create this dynamic talent pipeline. So we've got today Dr. Heather Shipley. She's the Provost and Executive VP for President for Academic Affairs, our host institution, UTSA. Dr. Garza, who's President Tecnologica de Monterrey. Thank you very much for coming up, Dr. Garza. And CEO of Nukudu, Dean Geffen. And then moderating our conversation is Mr. Joe Sanchez. He's the creator and executive director of Cyber Texas Foundation. And so we've got another exciting conversation. I'm excited for myself and for you all. Joe, please.
Diana, thank you. Diana, thank you. And I want to thank President Amy and all the UTSA staff for all the work that's been done and for the invitation. This is a real privilege to be on with everyone here, especially with this illustrious group here. So Joe Sanchez from Cyber Texas Foundation. Without having to spend a lot of things of what I do, I thought I'd show a video that was produced last July just to give you a sense of who we are. And I'll touch a few points after the video is shown, but let's go to the video. Our foundation's been around since April of 2015, so almost 10 years now. Our focus is cybersecurity education, and we work from primary school all the way up to the university level, teaching students as best we can about IT and networks, and hopefully have a career in networks or cybersecurity.
Yeah, cybersecurity is just such an exciting, unique field. It brings in so many different fields such as like computer science, technology, allowing me to really learn everything that I wanted to without being limited to one field. I feel all of us know someone or have had a family that has had a cybersecurity incident, whether it be like their Instagram account being hacked or losing their entire bank account due to a threat actor. It's really hard to see, so I feel more people need to know about these cybersecurity threats and take action upon it. Learn cybersecurity, whether it be as a practitioner or just having broader cybersecurity skills to defend yourself.
So we recognize that there's a problem within cybersecurity. We've noticed that there are more open positions right now than there are students who are trained to fill that. So a big part of our goal is bridging that skills gap so that more students have the opportunity to learn about cybersecurity.
You know, when we think about cybersecurity and where it's going, I think we need to start the education of cybersecurity and the challenges that we have much earlier on in people's lives.
Getting that interest and understanding of cybersecurity embedded, it should be a natural thing, like looking both ways before you cross the street.
And it's difficult because most parents do not know about information technology, about securing systems, about cybersecurity. So we need to not only get the kids and the students aware of what is possible, we also need to make sure that the parents and their guardians know about this as a potential career for their loved ones. So we continue to grow our program here, and that's what Cyber Texas is all about, and trying to bring in more students into at least being aware of what IT and networks are all about and what cyber can be for them.
The kids today are super passionate, and as we continue on, kids are only getting brighter. So the earlier that we can start teaching them these valuable skills, the earlier they'll be able to start working and making a difference within our communities.
I have to give credit to CrowdStrike. They had a camp with us last summer, as well as my son Joseph, who actually edited the CrowdStrike video and put that video together this time for us. So I'll have to give credit to my son Joseph for putting it together. 3 points I want to make on that video. One is, if you didn't notice, the kids were playing, what were they playing? Could you all see? They were playing cards, okay? Put away their digital devices and they were playing cards, okay? This is a product of UTSA. The Center for Infrastructure Assurance and Security came up with what they call Cyber Threat Defender card game. Magic, the card game, people know about Magic, so it's very similar to Magic. So this was produced for adults
okay? Then we used it in elementary schools. And they said, elementary schools, really? The kids are gonna know? They absolutely did. We did a pilot with Northside ISD. So what UTSA did? They created Cyber Threat Protector for 3rd grade through 5th grade. Same cards, less words, more graphics. Then they created one for kindergarten through 2nd grade, okay? So nothing but graphics, and the teacher tells them what these are all about. So I'm proud to say this is a UTSA product. They gave away 800 classroom sets. This classroom set is free to any school in the country. There's 25 decks in these. They gave away almost 800 last year across the country. 400,000 people over the past 10 years, students have been impacted by receiving these decks over the years. So kudos to the CIS for continuing to do this, and I want to make sure they understood that. Secondly, CrowdStrike was a part of this. This happened to be on July 18th of last year. Does anybody remember what happened on July 19th of last year? The CrowdStrike problem with Azure and Microsoft being pushed out. A bad update caused havoc the next day. So I had a wonderful day with CrowdStrike. The director of HR was there. He's on the video. I wake up the next morning and I see havoc across the world with CrowdStrike. The good story of this is that I spoke to JC a week or two later. I gave him some time just to find out what was going on. He said, Joe, we had 8,000 applications over the weekend. People understood the need to want to go work for a company. Not that they had, it was one bad push, right? But they saw that a company needed help and they had thousands of people apply. They had never had anything like that before. Good news story. The last point, the young man that was on the video, he's a Cyber Patriot competitor. If you don't know about Cyber Patriot, it's an online competition for middle school and high schools across the country. San Antonio has more teams than any other city in the country for 9 years in a row, more than LA, New York, you name it. But that young man, Eric, was a Cyber Patriot. He's going to A&M San Antonio, okay? But he was an intern at CrowdStrike. So we're building workforce. So that's what this afternoon's panel is about, workforce. I heard it mentioned a few times throughout the morning, and I'm great to see the good number of people are here to listen to what we need more of. We need workforce. So I would like to allow each of the panel members to introduce themselves, and then we'll go into the questions.
So yes, hello, I'm Heather Shipley, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Provost and Executive Vice President of Academic Affairs at the University of Texas at San Antonio. And so thank you so much for highlighting the great work that our students are doing, that our faculty are doing. And I'm so excited to be here on this panel today and talk some more. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. It's an honor to be here sharing the panel with my colleagues and with the great moderator here. My name is David Garza. I'm Executive President of Tecnológico de Monterrey Educational Group. This includes the University Tech de Monterrey, the University Tech Milenio, and the Tech Salud Academic Medical Center, among some other entities that are part of the Tech de Monterrey Educational Group. And I got my deck.
Now,
I think that these are not the kindergarten.
Español. Son español.
Yes.
So they made him in Spanish for if you didn't know. So he has a couple of packs in Spanish.
The other one is here.
Yes,
so
you need two to play.
Yes.
Dean?
So I'm Dean Geffen, the CEO of Nukudu, a talent development company that is based in Singapore and here in San Antonio.
Great, thank you all. So what I love about this panel is we have our homegrown UTSA, we have Dr. Garza from Monterrey, and then we have Dean as an industry partner. So we have San Antonio, we have Mexico, and then we have Israel as well as Singapore here. So you're gonna hear a little variety of input from a number of people here. So a very easy question, I think, but I think I'm gonna hear some different perspectives. What is workforce to you, Heather?
So what is workforce to us at UTSA? Really, it is about creating, as we lovingly call, career-ready roadrunners, right? That is our purpose, is to help make sure that our students are prepared for the workforce. And the way that we've really done that is taking our top 10 producing degree programs, and it aligns with the top 10 industries in San Antonio. And so making sure that that collaboration, and we'll talk, I know a little bit more about what that is, examples of that as we go, but really making sure that those cross collaborations are happening and that we're thinking about the ecosystem in which we're living in San Antonio and beyond, and creating that opportunity for our students along with really building on the legacy that we have around cyber, now data science and AI and other industries that we're talking about specifically here today.
Thank you. Dr. Gars?
Yes, I mean, talking about workforce or education, higher education institutions like ours, there is one phrase that we like it a lot that says, well, technology is advancing so fast that when the students graduate, they will be using technologies that haven't been invented yet. They will be working on jobs that don't yet exist or trying to solve problems that the problems don't yet exist. So it's like when this ice hockey player Wayne Gretzky mentioned, you don't go to where the puck is. You want to go where the puck is going to be. And but the challenging part here for us at universities is, well, who knows where that puck is going to be? So what we try to do is to try to think about, well, on one part, what are those, those roles, those jobs that are actually needed and that are increasing the needs for that. We know that those AI, data scientists, in the cybersecurity field, the information security experts, and to mention some of those. But then we also try to think about what are the skills that will be needed, because these will be an evolving situation. So what are the skills for those graduates that will help them to adapt to those situations? And there we see flexibility, systems thinking, analytical, creative thinking, among some of the top aspects. Resiliency also being one of those skills. So it's a combination about, yes, what are some of the jobs that will be appearing in the future, plus what are we cannot predict everything. So how do we prepare our students, our graduates, to adapt for the new opportunities?
Fantastic, Doctor. And I love that you talk about beyond the technology, right? It's not just about the books. From university perspective, you all have an education perspective, but there's also the need to bring about the rest of their talents that we all too often maybe overlook. And some people call them power skills. We call them power skills. Some people call them soft skills, right? So we've been using power skills for years. So take that away from you. That's the word of the day, power skills, okay? That's beyond the technology. It's being able to speak. I'm a huge introvert, if you don't know, but yet I find a way to get through. I have some friends who have shared that with me themselves, but I know the fact that it takes more than just being able to learn and use it in application. It's more than that. So that's a perfect segue to what I think Dean brings to mind as an industry partner. If you could define workforce for you, I know we're going to get into further about what you all do, but can you touch briefly on what Dr. Garza talked about beyond knowledge?
So I think besides the fact of beyond knowledge, I want to touch based in his first answer, the part that he said, and he mentioned about what will be the next job scope, what people will do next. But sometimes you have a workforce that was already trained work in the previous generation, right? And those people today, even we are seeing more and more with AI, there is transition. And there is a huge bank that just laid off about 10,000 employees just because of automation. Now, for us is to take this workforce and reskill them in a short period of time into back to the needed industries. So this is, for me, the definition for workforce. Now, for your second question, with Watch, those people already, you can select them based on their power skills, right? So it's very easy to identify they already have experience in the domain, and we can re-insert them into the economy market.
Perfect, thank you. And we're going to get into a little bit more about what Nukudu is all about and what their model is. It's very innovative, to use one of the words from this conference. It's very innovative, and I want to make sure that he has a voice to be able to say that. Back to you, Heather. I know we talked about what workforce is. Can you share some of the major programs? You talked about the top 10. Can you give a little glimpse of what UTSA is doing in those particular degrees in workforce for us?
Yeah, so I think one of the big things that we're doing is creating the new college that will sit within this building and the new building next door, our AI, cyber, and computing, and really bringing those majors that had been across campus in different spaces together to really coalesce them downtown where our tech corridor is and other industries. So a lot of it is also thinking about where that pairing can happen. So our students have that experience besides just the curriculum. How are they doing internships? Are they getting to do projects? How are those industries interacting through advisory boards or other places within our curriculum? So our colleges is one way to do that. Another is credentials. We're working a lot on credentials and what credentials can our students, but also that reskilling piece that you talked about. How do we bring back in the adult learners so that they can have the skill sets that they need to be productive in the workforce? And I think those credentials are not just for the majors that we think of in cyber and computer science and computer engineering and others. It's also how do we put that in our social science degrees? How do we put that in our humanities and our education degrees? Because these are all skill sets that we're going to need across disciplines. And so making sure that those students have access to AI, to data science, and are thinking about that as we are teaching them their other curriculum of their major. And so those are ways that we're really trying to interact from a curriculum standpoint, but getting the students out there and getting that experiential learning and making sure that they're having those experiences in their curriculum and not just as an extra that maybe they get to take advantage of. Because of the students that we serve at UTSA, we want to make sure that all of our students have that opportunity and really can develop those skill sets to be really innovative and also really competitive in the workforce.
We could follow up. I understand, last looked at it, I think, what do you have, 5 colleges that actually have some sort of cybersecurity in their
Yes.
curriculum. Is that about right?
Yeah.
Maybe a 6th now?
Yes. So then, so different pieces, different colleges have different pieces in them. And then we're bringing together in this new college, computer science, computer engineering, our statistics and data science, and then also our cybersecurity degree will all come together. And then new degrees are going to come from that. We recently had a collaboration with our UT Health sister institution that will become one institution on September 1st, in which we created the first Masters of Science in AI with an MD degree. So how are we thinking about these technologies in other fields where we know it's going to be so important? And then our collaboration with Monterey Tech and building those partnerships across and internationally and continuing to think about those as we develop this new college.
Fantastic, thank you. And Dr. Gades, I was looking at the website, and if you could share a little bit about the programs that you all have, but what I was amazed was to see the number of partnerships that you have worldwide. It's truly amazing. If you haven't taken a look, just every continent, it seems, except maybe Antarctica and the Arctic, right? But you are everywhere. So if you could share, obviously, what you have homegrown at Monterrey, but also the partnerships beyond. And then if you could follow up with your high school component, because I know you briefly introduced that, but I'd love to hear about the high school as well.
Sure. Yes, well, as part of our academic model, we encourage our students to go abroad. 50%, over 50% of our students graduate with an international experience, and therefore we have over 700 agreements around the world with over 50 different countries. And of course, there are each school defines on what are the main relationships that they want to have. As part of the programs that we have since 2019, we have a new academic model that we call it Tech 21 educational model. Instead of being lecture-based, all the courses, half of the curriculum is lectures, and the other half of the curriculum has to do with students doing challenges that are designed by faculty, mostly interdisciplinary, in connection with industry or with the community, and of course, evaluating learning outcomes. Every semester, we have over 2,000 industry partners working as part of the education of our students. Now, related to these aspects about AI, cybersecurity, just a brief context. I mean, for Mexico and for Latin America, this is something really big. There are some studies that mention the opportunity that is for Latin America to leverage AI. There was a recent study mentioning that just in Mexico, you can find over 40% of the startups in AI in all Latin America. So those are concentrated in Mexico. So the AI, we define that to be something transversal for all academic programs. So similar to what you have, that all academic programs should have that type of education. We're starting with that in next year. But we do have concentrations, majors, and we have minors, and the minors are like concentrations, and we have in data science, cybersecurity, on top of the major programs that we do have in data science, cybersecurity, and so on. And we do have a high school. 30,000 students are in our different campuses in senior high schools. And also there, the students have the opportunity to elect some programs associated with technology.
Fantastic. I believe I was talking to Ignacio about the high schools, that you all are truly trying to help grow 30,000 students at the high school, that there's a need for a better programs in Mexico at the high school level, that it's not quite there that you might see here. I hope I'm not misspeaking. Is that correct? And you all are doing this to help?
Yes,
the
definitely. If
country?
you look at the educational system in Mexico, one of the big challenges that we have is actually in senior high school, is where you have less students finishing when we lose most of the students, and then you see the impact later on the development of those students down the road in terms of not just economic aspects for the families of those students, of those potential students, but other aspects, social aspects. So that's a key element. If we can grow that part, and then we have Tech Milenio, which is actually the university that currently we have 60,000 students in Tech Milenio. We aspire to have over 80,000 students in the upcoming 5 years, covering the, high school and also university level education.
Amazing. So high school, regular college, graduate, and med school.
Yes, and just recently, 4 months ago, we launched a new initiative that we call Learning for the Future. And this is essentially a non-degree programs, continuous education. There we have 160,000 people per year. And our aspiration is to go to 500,000 in the upcoming years, mainly because of the fact that Dean was mentioning. I mean, we see that it's not going to be enough just with the students that are going to university and going 4 years until they graduate and so on. So we need to contribute to the reskilling and upskilling aspect of the group. In Latin America, it's expected that 40% of the jobs will be augmented by AI. Some, perhaps 10% will be displaced. So, and then there are all these aspects about cybersecurity. So we see that a big responsibility for us.
No doubt. As a guest here in San Antonio, so lovely to have you. So I'm going to ask Chris to lead a round of applause from what we just heard from Dr. Garza, what they're doing in Monterrey Tech. That is amazing.
Well, but but just to mention, this is not possible without those partnerships, and UTSA is one example. I mean, we didn't start it into cybersecurity until we got together with
Indeed.
UTSA, and today we're signing an important agreement related to our AI program.
Fantastic.
So
Wonderful to hear.
partnerships do catalyze the impact and the quality.
Indeed, indeed. So we're going to shift a little bit from academic and what you learned here at UTSA, as well as at Monterrey. We're going to move to Dean here with NUCADU. How many know or have heard of NUCADU in town? Okay, so maybe less than 10 people here. So Dean, you have the stage here to describe your background in Israel, to Singapore, to San Antonio, if you could, please.
Okay, thanks, Jeff.
And you have 5 minutes. No, I'm just go right ahead.
All right, I'll try to make it faster. So I joined it's in Israel. We have a mandatory service, right? Everyone joining for 3 years at least. I did 7. And I joined to do offensive cybersecurity. When I joined, it was 2009, 15 conscript, basically high school graduate. 8 of us, we had a bachelor degree that we did during high school. And 7 years after, I became the chief of cyber training for this technological unit in the intelligence corps. And we had about 200 conscripts joining. And now in Israel, those are slightly big numbers. We have to remember the size also of Israel is greater San Antonio. And in a short period of time, when we have those soldiers, we have to, one, train them. And second, they must be operational in cybersecurity quickly, because within 3 years, they will already leave us. So we have to close this whole loop of training them, make them to be operational, and then already see the results of those training. And also, we have the second aspect, which is how you select high school graduate into a program, such a program, especially in those small numbers. And given the fact that once they will graduate, they will get, I don't know, 10x the salary that they were making. And, some say that they will be at least the best in the Middle East in cybersecurity. And also what we saw is the biggest cybersecurity companies, some of the biggest ones are originally from Israel, because of this, the way that we select and train them. In the past 8 years, I've been based in Singapore. We have DART, which is a company that does capacity builder for government agency and intelligence services, mainly in tier 1 countries such as Singapore and West Europe. And what we found out when we wanted to approach to the enterprise market was that they have shortage of capable manpower in cybersecurity that understand the true nation of state level and nation level attack. This is something that was very pain point for some of our clients. Also, given the fact that you could have, and you talk about it with the power skills, you could have brilliant tech people, but eventually they are not able to really talk to a client, write the proper reports, and do all that. But they're brilliant in what they're doing. So we look about it from a different perspective. We took the aptitude assessment that we developed for IDF and developed for other government agencies, and we commercialized that and open it to the public. Meaning anyone want to take and join to cybersecurity, take this assessment test. Whoever passed the assessment test, we will hire them immediately. We pay them salary from day one. We train them at our own expense, and then we are placing them in organization. In return, they have to stay and work within this organization for the next. So that's created a win-win situation for all the three entities. It's a win for the students who doesn't need to take any risk. He knows what will be his salary. And again, those are not high school graduates. It could be mid-career that are changing role, and it's very difficult for them to take a paid cut and go back to study full-time. It's a win for the company who doesn't have any risk because they're hiring from us as a staff augmentation. So if they're not happy with the candidate, or if they want to change the resource and all that, and also the fact that we were financing it for them, so they're taking it at a lower cost, and that's what we do.
Can you share the numbers of applicants you had in your first, maybe second cohort?
So for the first cohort in San Antonio, we got almost 9,000 candidates. 9,000, sorry, and we chose 15.
15, 1-5. 1-5.
So it's using AI, we have automated selection system, so it's very easy for us to get large pool of people, handpick a few, and then in the shortest time make them to be operational in cybersecurity.
And Dean, their training is how long?
So the training is about 4.5 months, and then they have another 2 months of certification phase.
And as he said, they're picking up the cost to pay them as employees, and then they turn them around and find clients to go work for. So interesting concept. When I first heard about it a couple of years ago, I met Dean, I guess, Almo
A
Ace.
year ago, actually.
Almo Ace, really nice conference if you haven't been to it, but it was nice to hear what he was doing and what they're trying to do here. So they're in the placement phase and they're bringing in your second cohort. Is that about right?
So we'll start the second cohort next quarter. And now I think we placed about half of the cohort, or almost half. Also, most of them in San Antonio, the rest in the area.
Can I ask a question I think would be important to a lot of people here in San Antonio? Why did you choose San Antonio?
You know, I heard Jenna talking before, and besides being Cyber City USA, and I think what I liked personally in San Antonio was the community. The fact that you have a small ecosystem and people really trying to help, and of course the organization that Jenna is leading, Greater, help us a lot. And on top of that, we saw the growth in the defense contractor in this specific world for us to staff because they need a US citizen. And this goal is not to bring, because we do it in Singapore. Singapore is a country that half of the people are immigrants, same as me, expats, which is fine. It's all regulated, but eventually those areas, sometimes in cybersecurity, you want the local talent. You don't want to bring offshore talent. That's the reason that we chose San Antonio.
Good point. One thing I'll mention for Dean is their terminal certificate that they want them to earn is OSCP. If you don't know what OSCP, it's Offensive Security Certified Professional. It's a 24-hour test where you have to break into multiple websites and systems and then write a report which takes you 24 hours. Most cybersecurity professionals cannot pass the test. And that's what they're putting their employees through for that length of time in their program.
And we have to remember that 4 months before that, they had zero IT experience, right? We have a musician, we have folks that was in the medical industry. And I think those stories really, we are changing people's lives. This is something that's really
Important.
passionate.
Very good.
Chris, you have competition up here. Jenna's leading the charge for clapping. Thank you, Jenna. I want to mention OSCP. I want to take this back a little bit to Cyber Texas, but we work with high school students and middle school kids. And we work with the the ICSI, the Institute of Cybersecurity Innovation with Northeast ISD. And over the past 2 years, there were 2 students who passed OSCP. One was a graduating senior, and he passed OSCP his first time. And he paid for it by scholarship money that he earned at our Mayor's Cyber Cup. That's how he paid for that certificate. An 18-year-old passed OSCP. The next year, a rising junior earned OSCP, and he said it was an easy test. That's way up here, but that's an example of the type of students that we have here in San Antonio, the talent, homegrown talent that we want to be able to bring into the workforce with the proper training. So again, high school students are earning OSCP. They're also earning CompTIA, ITF Plus, Network Plus, Security Plus across the city. So great programs here in San Antonio. I want to bring up one more point. NSA's Center of Academic Excellence, CAEs, there are 9 CAEs here in San Antonio, 9. That's more than about 30 states. Okay, if you were to line them up, 30 states have less centers of academic excellence than San Antonio does. And the first was UTSA, obviously, back in 2002 with the help of Dr. Glenn Dietrich and others. So, yes, true. And of course, 9 right here in San Antonio. The other point I want to make is in the Cyber Patriot teams, we had 340. If San Antonio was a state, we would be behind California and Texas, and then San Antonio. And we had half of the teams in Texas. So that tells you the programs that we have here at the high school level. Moving into high school, I want to ask our panel members here to give us a glimpse of how you reach down into the high schools and you see how you can help bring them along into your particular programs.
Yeah, so I think you spoke about that a little bit in some of the centers that we have on our campus that are doing the card games, that are also doing camps, and then also dual credit is a large part of this. So how do we make sure that students are having access to the curriculum in high school so they're prepared and ready to keep going through college, and I have a heads up. So through our institutes and our centers, that's a large way in which we interact through the K through 12, and then just partnerships with Northside ISD and others as we start to build those.
Right, you all had a program a few years ago about teachers who were going
Yep.
through master's degree in cyber while earning certificates
Yes.
and then going back into the classroom to teach curriculum
Correct.
in the
Right.
classroom.
Yep.
Fantastic. How many students would you say enter in the cyber or some type of either class or in the degrees?
So I'm going to go a little bigger. So our new college, it's about 5,000 students that will encompass our new college studying anything from AI, data science, or cyber. Yeah.
And previously it's over 3,000 as I
Yes,
understand.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Big growth.
Dr. Garza, in terms of high schools, I know you said you have one with
Yes,
60,000 students.
We do have one high school, and our students that from our high school enter college if that's their election, and about, depending on the city, like in the city of Monterrey, about 80% of the students that go to our high schools continue to take the Monterrey. Now, at Tec de Monterrey, our incoming freshman class, about 50% comes from our high schools nationwide, and the other 50% from different high schools. So we do have some engagements with, of course, with our own high school. There is a close relationship in terms of faculty members from on the university designing some type of programs that can be delivered at the prepa, at the senior high schools. For non-tech high schools, we do have programs like, for example, every year we have this very big event on innovation in education where 4,000 people attend. And we invite all of our potential high schools, to faculty, to the professors, teachers, to come there. And there, we do have training programs for teachers in innovation education, in AI, and the different programs that we're doing. So that works very good for the type of engagement. And then we also have this FIRST robotics contest, which is very, very popular among high school students. And it also serves as an opportunity to bring them to technology-oriented programs.
How many of the students in high school would you say are involved in a STEM related, or a good percentage, would you say?
In a very good percentage, I would say, I mean, at Tec de Monterrey, about close to 50% of our students are into engineering and sciences. So the freshmen, I'm talking about the student body. If you look at our senior high schools, I would say perhaps it's roughly about 60, 70% of them are associated to STEM-related fields. Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, Dean, we've talked a little bit about high schools, and I know they're maybe a little young, but what are your thoughts on high schools in terms of bringing folks in at that level to be able to tackle work at Nukudu?
I think I should. So for Nukudu, I think we have a few that don't have any background, right? They came out of high school and afterwards they were working in industry, and we took them without any degree. So for it was in Singapore. For that sense, it's fine.
That's
We
good
can
to know.
have that.
That's good to know. Well, I want to make sure we have enough time. We have about, is there about 10 minutes? Timekeeper, 10 minutes? Okay. Is there anything that I've missed that perhaps you would love to be able to share with our audience here today?
Well, I think I just want to double down on one of the points that we heard from Jenna early in, but also us, is the ecosystem that we have here in San Antonio, and that collaboration and connection between government agencies, industries, higher education, both our community colleges and us, our four-year institutions, and how we create those experiences for both students, but also for just our general workforce and community. I think that's really unique here compared to a lot of places that you find in the country, and that works in our different institutes and our centers across our different institutions, and really coming together to work towards really being the hub that we are outside of Washington, D.C.
Thank you for mentioning. Dr. Garza?
Perhaps I would like to mention that the way that we see it is that the gap is so big that we think that we need to think out of the box in terms about how are we going to be mitigating that gap. And what I mean here is that, of course, we have the traditional educational models, but then we should think about different educational models. One is the non-degree programs that I was mentioning about, but the other, it has to do with industry stay experiences where we can provide credit, because sometimes there is this aspect about, well, but I have this experience, yes, but I'm not giving you credit for that. You need to take all these. Plus, also how we can leverage technologies. I mean, AI will be a big disruptor for education, for many aspects, and we think that for education as well. I do think that universities like ours will continue existing, but I think that we can leverage that for, once again, personalized learning and many of those aspects that perhaps we still are not heavily used, but given the demand that we will have, we need to think about these different aspects.
Indeed, it's great to hear you're pivoting. Yes. Dean, anything that we missed that you'd like to have?
I think we can just touch a bit also the fact of today with using AI, the aspects of workforce and cybersecurity will also going to change, because we will see more and more platforms that are entering to those tier one stock analyst roles and take them out through automation, and also the fact that those SOC is going to be less and less demand for workforce, and they will need more the tier 2 and tier 3 and so forth. This is one. And second hand that we will also see is more and more the adversaries, basically the attackers, that are becoming more and more advanced. And add to that the fact that today other government intelligence services are targeting US commercial companies. And we saw it with SolarWinds, and we saw it with others. So there will be much more demand for those cybersecurity defenders that are familiar with those state-level attacks, because those attackers have a lot of money and resources to compromise our networks.
Yeah, good point. Good point. I do want to mention two things, and I think a lot of you in the room probably know about In Cyber USA. That's coming here in June 17th to 18th. A group out of Europe that has been doing In Cyber for, I think it's their 15th or 16th year in France. It takes place in April 1st. They've been in Canada for 3 years. My team, some of the people in the room, were up in Montreal last October. That was their 3rd year in Canada. And a few years back, they came to San Antonio and probably met with some of the people in this very room to talk about coming to where they wanted to plant the USA conference. And they chose San Antonio, once again, to hold their conference June 17th and 18th. Cyber Texas is responsible for a demonstration floor called Odyssey Pavilion, where we're going to have demonstratable technology for students to come in and experience some new tech, high tech, cyber, STEM related programs. It's unfortunate that's in June when school is out of session, but hopefully we can still bring some school buses in. So I want to make sure everybody knew about cyber. Second, I heard the word ecosystem. I've been using a term that I prefer because I think San Antonio has its own world when it comes to cyber. So cybersphere is the word that I use. You'll see it on my LinkedIn page. We're our own cybersphere right here in San Antonio. So again, share that with others because I think it's appropriate to what we have here in San Antonio and have built over the years. But I want to thank our panel for being here. I want to thank you all for listening in intently. Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure.